So it's been really fun catching up, and
yeah, I've really loved hanging out with you.
I was talking. I'm here this week with my sister. Do you want to just introduce yourself?
Bueno, yo me llamo Shannon y feliz año nuevo. Soy hermana menor
Do you want to do it in English? I did high school Spanish and have no clue what you're saying, so.
Right. So I'm Shannon, and I'm Alina's little sister.
Do you want to?
You feel like I covered it?
Just anything else?
Okay, I'm up from a year and a half in Uruguay. I've been living in Montevideo, Uruguay, and studying at the Universidad de Montevideo. I did 3 semesters there, and I came up like a week ago for my first break up here with my family in New York.
So this is your first break in like a year and a half. What were your first impressions on returning here?
Well, first of all, it's like living in a fridge. It's so damn cold. When you move beyond that, I'd say one of my first impressions of coming back onto a Bruderhof community for the first time in a year and a half is that you're safe. Maybe that's just Latin America, but I don't even feel like that's just from living in Latin America. I feel like that is something that impacts you when you come onto a Bruderhof community. People talk about, or like I grew up hearing people talk about the peace they feel when they come here. I would echo that. I feel that here, but I also feel just like the basic safety. Like you don't have to be watching your back the whole time, and you don't have to be watching your stuff and your phone the whole time. Here people just trust each other, and it's like assumed. I don't even think it would occur to brothers and sisters not to trust each other. I feel like that's unprecedented. That's amazing.
Is there anything you've assimilated or any new attitudes you've adopted from Uruguay?
I think one thing the Uruguayans and maybe the Latin Americans do in general really well, which isn't like a novel concept. We've all heard of the mañana culture, and I think that just sort of being a bit more tranquilo about schedule and like where you need to be, when you need to be is a positive, I would say, of how the Uruguayans operate. Like, for instance, my family's Christmas Day dinner, we invited our guests for 6 p.m. and by come 6 p.m. we were eating, and like that was kind of shocking for me. In the end, I am an American and I am a Bruderhof native, and like this was my normal, so it can be my normal again. But I think that's a definite strong point of the Latin American thing. I guess stepping back into the Bruderhof for the first time in a year and a half, if I had to put the Bruderhof now in 2 words, if I had to summarize it in 2 words, they would be justice and childlikeness. I always knew that this way of life was extraordinarily just. Whenever I lived in Houston, Texas, and worked with immigrants, I saw to use an annoying cliche, the raw underbelly of capitalism and everybody who falls through the cracks. So I already had seen that this isn't a viable alternative. But I guess this Christmas, I'm just seeing that all over again, where I lived in Uruguay in a much more normal, I had a much more normal place in society. I wasn't a volunteer worker. I wasn't working with down and out people. I was just a normal kid going to school in a normal city in a country that isn't even third world. And that became my normal. And now I've stepped back onto a Bruderhof community, and literally the lawyers are making the same amount of money as the bathroom cleaners. Nothing. That's their salary, 0. Like, that's crazy. That's bizarre. That's radical. And I just wish that everybody who's perceptive enough to see that capitalism isn't working, which is most people actually, could see that this is a viable solution right here in Walden, New York, which is working. and childlikeness. I guess what I'm seeing here is a lot of children who are allowed to be fully children, and grown-ups who are allowed to are allowed to stand for something pure. And that does not equal naivety or ignorance or even innocence. It's just a wholesomeness and purity of spirit. And you see that people are allowed to be themselves here.
Should we wrap this up?
Yeah, let's just be done now.
Yeah, let's see if we can close this.
Okay.
I'll close it, you just be quiet.
Okay.
It's been really fun catching up, and the Christmas was so fun, like hanging out.
I've loved
together.
hanging out with my super weird older sister before I head back down to Latin America in a couple weeks for a couple more years.
Thanks for watching. Happy New Year, and I will see you next week.
And don't forget to subscribe to my big sister's cool videos. Are we done?
Yeah.
One more thing. One record we gotta set straight here. Guys, I love Thomas à Kempis.
Yeah, so for those of you who watched my video last week, I disagreed with Thomas à Kempis. And
accused a little sister, and my inbox filled up with Thomas à Kempis lovers who had a big problem with me. I'm right with them. I have no problem with a mystic. Why am I always the family lightning rod?
it was my other sister.